go. Hey, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Today, I'm going to get back into a project I've had on the bench or in the planning stage for a very long time. And just try and build up the cockpit of this Memphis Belle, which is going to become ye old pub. And I am looking for my box of blades because I need to change out this blade. It's been used and abused. And every once in a while, you may hear me cuss and swear and maybe a slap because I left the door open to the basement. So the dog will go out and back. We got a little bit of rain. And then I got mosquitoes in here. I am not finding my fresh blades. Yeah. This just screams professionalism when you're completely unprepared. But we will just muddle through. And hopefully I don't have any super small parts to cut off the frame. Hang on a second here. I've had this kit since COVID. So it has been sitting in my stash for 5 years. 5 years, I tell you. And if you don't know the story of Charlie Brown and Franz Ziegler, I highly recommend that you go and look it up. While the Memphis Belle story certainly is a good story as well, the ye old pub, I believe it was the gold color because it was the second time playing through. Anyhow, it doesn't matter. We'll figure it out. Ye old pub and the Franz Ziegler story is eventually what we're going to be making. This plane was severely damaged. This one here, badly damaged AA and fighter raid on Bremen, 43, and they got completely disoriented. There's a terrible story. Franz Stiegler was sent up to go kill it off, and he couldn't because he was told, you don't shoot, an opponent when they're down, and he thought they were gonna not make it, and he escorted them so they would not get further flaked all the way out to the North Sea, gave them a salute, and flew off. I cannot kill these half-dead people. It would be like shooting at a parachute. So, and then these two ended up finding each other after the war. He was in Vancouver, Canada, and he was in Seattle, and they became lifelong friends. I think Charlie passed away before. Hey, Steven. Turn up my volume. Yeah, it may just be because I'm filming on a phone, so it's kind of what you get. Any hoodles. Let's see here. We're just going to try and get some of this and maybe the Bombay done, and then I'm gonna. This will be a more proper build. Looks to be not super complicated, but I've got a lot of damaging to do. I've got a lot of crystal to take care of. At some point, I have a 1/72nd scale crew to build, so I'll be getting those together later, maybe even tonight if I have time. But let's see. Let's start with cockpit chromate greens. Yeah. We'll paint that. So it looks like we need sprue J. This thing has got a million sprues. I already washed them. Let's see here. Gotta get the old readers on. Academy's not known as being the greatest, but it was cheap. So that always works. just like I used an Airfix kit for the 109G model. Probably the last Airfix kit I actually will build, because they just ain't that good of a model company, kit building company, in my humble opinion. All right, let's see what we've got here. They say J, but they don't label. Everything's labeled as A. Are they sure they mean J? This could be a long night for those of you who are viewing, because it looks like these guys are as bad as Airfix. I wonder, did they mold it out of clear? Which is really going to be a pain in the ass if they did. B-17. So, when in doubt, let me just go searching for what looks right. Because they haven't labeled anything. This is K. I get the K. And here's J. All right, I got J. I jumble around. I don't know, you mean? The clippers. So we are looking for J5, which is this big bad boy right here. This is some really hard plastic. Like I said, I just built something with Airfix, and it's so super soft. 17s, J17, 17 here. It's nice to get back to some hard plastic. Oh, they got these parts scattered everywhere, man, all around the sprues. You think they could clip them together? J16. Yeah, that looks like, yep. So sometimes it's easier just to look for the part shape and go find it. Make sure I got all the J's I'm gonna need for step number 1 here. 5 and that was J3. Yeah, here's J3. Big round firewalls. Then we need some K's and B. I'm telling you, it's all over the place, man. All right, well, let's go to A. This should be sprue A. Sprue A. So we've got 239s. Looks like they're all identical. And a little 6. Can you go? No, unfortunately, once you set it up for mobile, it forces you into this. It's one of the things I complained to YouTube about. And if I turn it this way, I think on the screen you can still see it, but it's still shooting in long screen, and it's giving me a, hey, you got to rotate back. I'm located in North Carolina for now until I can retire and move back to Pennsylvania. A74. Living in the South after you have grown up in the big city, if you will, it's not much fun. Let me just put it that way. The monoculturalism down here is mind-boggling. 73, 39. So, who knows where those are going to go and why they give you so many. This is already driving me nuts. I feel like I'm doing a Airfix kit. A74. There's 73. You think, right? There's 73, but there's 38. And the 41s, 40, 40. Here's 41s. They do not have super clearly defined sprue gates, unless you look close. Where the heck is 74? It's 30, 80, 74. There's no, I don't know who laid this out, but man, they are all over the place. All right, let's do some cleaning up. What am I missing? B-17 and K-27. There isn't any real rhyme or reason to this. All right, here's K. K-27. Nice little floor piece. And then we got to find sprue B. B-17. B-17 that I have labeled. B. B is one huge rack. Why wouldn't you split that into a couple different things? And for B-77, right down here next to B-13, that makes a... I don't know who, like I said, I don't know who laid this out. All right. Let's see where we want to start here. I think I'm going to start with the big floor. I got some reference. I think these are all wooden floors. But we'll find out. We'll get to the paint because this is all going to be the interior, so this will all be painted before we put it in. All right, so our orientation is like that. Let's get ourselves... may or may not see a whole lot of detail because the front of the plane, other than the front nose, wasn't really shot up too bad. So like this part, I'm gonna have to work on doing a good job of detailing it. Second chair. I may not need the knife to be super sharp when we do this. Oh, I see. I missed some 840s. I missed the yokes as well. Let's see here. Just want to try and clean this little knob off the front. And they want you to paint this separately and then put a decal on the back. It's like, okay. Yeah, those have nice engagement points. And you can see there's a little knuckle there, a lip, and that just almost like a snap fit. Get them oriented. I've got mosquitoes in the basement. Just a little dab of extra thin. It'll wick down in there. Set that side dry. Clean up the sticks. I gotta get the yolks. And they are back on sprue A. 40. I see, you have to go by sight because this sprue is not laid out, right? Like 24, 72, 79, 74. And what am I looking for again? 40. There, and there's 40 right next to 32. 40s, 32. Go figure. So I'm going to do for these 40s, clip them up long so that we can get in and get that detail part. We're really going to have to look at the instructions here. It's not super clear if I need to leave I think the orientation is that way, so I think that piece cleaves off. What I'm looking at is that part of the part or is that part of the sprue? And I think that's part of the sprue because that is going to go into that little hole there, which means that this is not part of the part either. That's part of the sprue gate, that little rounded piece there, because that's going to go into the floor. So the flashing on here is not bad, I'll have to say. I've got a cutting mat underneath here, so. Yep, you know what? I'm gonna take back, other than their weird layout of parts. It doesn't seem to make any rhyme or reason. Using a proper modeling plastic, styrene, not that soft, pale blue crap from Airfix. You know, it really allows you to cut a nice clean part. And I can even use this dull blade just to take those little edges off. Now, their weird arrangement is leaving a little high spot there, so we're just gonna round that over. I think this is 1000 grit, so it'll take a few little passes, but I'll have more control. And there you go. Like I said, again, you're probably not going to see a ton of this detail when it's all buttoned up, but there's not going to be a whole lot of dry brushing on there, so I'm going to pick up that edge. So that one's gone. Where's my other one? Here's the other one. So again, this is what we start with. And we'll just come in, clip that off. So I'll have to take care of that little piece there, and then we got to get this off. Hello, Mr. Mosquito, or I should say Mrs. Mosquito, because the Mr. Mosquitoes are big things that don't bite you. It'd be time to invest in some new sanding sticks. They still work, but they're getting a little torn up from years of use. I think I bought this at about the same time I bought this modeling kit. All right, time to get the yolks. Now the yolks should be easier. All they've got is that one weird attachment point. So let's see if we can get it off without damaging it. Oh man, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to hold this. There you go. That came off pretty darn clean. Gotta fix up the backside. Again, I'm not going for museum quality. If I was, I'd buy a better kit. All right. One more to go. I left a little bit more there this time. All right. Sorry, my hands are really cruddy. I was spray painting earlier today, working on making some N-scale pine trees. And the spray can was, the tip jammed up, and all of a sudden, all comes out. So we got that. Yep. I'm trying to keep my big paws away from the end. Just need a little dab like that. And the orientation, I've got it upside down, of course. There you go. I don't know if I have a pilot's holding on to a yoke. I know the co-pilot by this point is unconscious. I think it was just Charlie, a couple of gunners who were out of ammunition. The tail gunners, the only guy who actually died. The whole rear section of the tail took the brunt of flak and fighter attacks. I mean, once you lose one of those gunner positions, the fighters would come in and just attack right there. So we're gonna let those dry. Sitting on my leg. I'll get this bulkhead ready to go. Again, having nice quality styrene makes it easy to clean up and chip off. And I'm only taking those little nubs off, one, because I'm not ADD-like person, and two, this has got to fit into the fuselage, so better now than later. And my real goal is just to get this built up so I can get it in the primer. So we're also going to need this part. Which from the very simplified drawing looks like the orientation is this way. So the decal's got to go on this side here. That's interior. Now the question is, how much of that yoke, the back panel, are we going to see? What I'm looking at is right on here. So there's the Bombay rack these will fit into. Oh, the back of that's going to be there. So I don't have to worry about, what I was worried about are these two sink marks. Right there and right there. But they're going to be, sitting like this. So when the nose is broken open, you're going to see this side. So I am going to have to worry about that sink mark. That big ass sink mark right there is going to have to be filled. Okay, there's another one on the. Is there anything that goes in front of that? Nope. All right, I'll tell you what, kiddos. What I like to do for sink mark, because these are raised up, get off the excess squished plastic. Little plastic primer putty. I'm just gonna. And this stuff shrinks a little bit, so. Let that sit right there and dry for just kind of flash. Get myself a Q-tip. Q-tip. A little bit of water down here. I was doing some painting earlier. Trying to get a lot of that moisture off. So it's just damp. Meanwhile, back at the farm, let's get this bad boy out of here. And we'll see if we make it the full hour. I had a couple of guests over last night, and there was copious amounts of wine consumed, so I had a hard time getting my butt out of bed. Now, okay, that's going to be the floorboard there. So this, again, probably when you build the model, that gets all buttoned up, you probably would not see the bottom of that, and I don't think we're going to see even with the nose section off. But I do want to get that nub off. Again, to help, it's got a chamfer to it, if you see it. So that's fitting into, sure, one of the fuselage, but I will take that down. Oh, there goes the air conditioner. So, joys of living in the South. You run your air conditioner in May. 23 years in Maine. I think I ran an air conditioner maybe for a couple weeks out of the year. Ran the heat a lot, but and there were 2 extra pieces. So this, there's the yolks, this, that, chairs. This weird little bomb sight, the Norton bomb sight, I guess, and that one. So let's come back to this. Here's my damp Q-tip. And now you can see that plastic putty. It's good stuff, man. Good stuff. So I got it mostly filled in. I have to come back when it's all assembled and see how much I can see. Cool beans. So let's finish with the flight deck. Now our 2 control arms, yokes, ready to go. I'm just going to put a little extra thin on there. And they've got a little D shape to them. Which is interesting. Why would they do that? It only goes in one way. Now, we may have to open that up to a round hole. Might be easier just to wick it from this side. Push that yoke back. Ah, carpet monster. There goes the dog. So, word of advice if you're building this thing is these yokes, even having all that time to sit, still sit kind of precariously on their little perches. So be fairly gentle with them. All right, I'm getting there. We got this beast. It's got a nasty little spillage right there. Plastic squeezing out. So, you know, again, not the most expensive kit in the world. It's an old Academy. But this whole exercise is going to be just to kind of get a sense of what went on. So again, I'm going to pre-dab that. Get the stick. And once I prime it up, then I'll put the decal on later. Prime and paint it. I think this gets painted black. So for now, I really don't see any detail. But now you've got a locating pin there, a locating pin there, and a little locator ledge right there. And it's just going to sit just like that. It looks like. Yeah, so all the details on that side. So I probably didn't even need to fill those, but that's okay. What I don't know is that supposed to be, because you got a little gap right there. So is it supposed to close that gap up? They don't really show you. So I'm going to assume that that just sits just like that, pretty as you please. Is there a further piece that keys in there? Not really. All right, so now we got some three-dimensionality to this. I'll let that sit there. Come back to cleaning up parts now. I am not sure what this part is. It separates the navigator, I guess, and the bombardier. At least it goes between the chairs. This must be get covered up by. Yeah, it gets covered up by a chair. So my orientation is this goes down. So I've got one chair back here. So that's going to slot in there. Let's get these chairs done. Things are pretty simplistic. And that is a monstrous sprue gate. I'll have to look and see if the front navigator, bombardier, if they actually had seat belts. Actually, it wouldn't be the not. I'm not sure why there's two seats up there. but they want one to orient this way. And you got a little collar right there on the end of that locator pin. Bang. The other seat, it's funny, they give a little, oh, I see why they're not concerned about that interior, because that's going to be against the outer skin. Oh, sorry, they want this one this way. Oh, you know what that is? That's the front machine gunner. That's what it is. And the bombardier, he would get in, lay in here. So it looks like that little bit right there is going to be seen, though. Big sink mark. Probably spending more time on this than I need to, but there we go. All right, so this orients. This is down. This looks like it needs to go just like this. The orientation on this is really poorly laid out in the instructions. It looks like that needs to finish that curve right there. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a little cement right here. Man, that's not a lot. I look at it from this side. Excuse me. Worst come to worst, this doesn't have a really hard defined engagement point. I've got to break the bond and reorient it when I go to assemble it. That's fine. All right, so I've got a bomb sight and a table somewhere. Here's a table. So this little table. Click that piece off. This looks like it should slot. Oh, it's going to rest right on there, so that piece comes off. This little detail piece comes off. But now we got to get it to sit flush. And on this side, we just want to remove the defect. So I think I'm going to put this in place once I get the rest of it in place. I'll get this little bomb sight cleared up. And just a bunch of sprue gates. So there's one sprue gate there. And now hold on to the piece. Whew, that is full of seams, mold lines. Just, I don't know if you can see it, but that's got a lot. All right, let's see if they They don't even really give you a clear orientation. It looks like this little handle needs to be coming to, I gotta orient myself. Port side. Yeah. Okay. I just noticed that little divot there. I don't know where my small sanding sticks got to. And by the time you get done doing 4 or 5 models, you could go work in a nail salon. That'll work. But I don't know why the chair orientation doesn't really want to fit. All right, now comes some fun parts here. This has got a slot in this lower slot right here. That fits pretty snug. I'll let the cement do its job. Try not to touch parts that are drying. Now, I have got mosquitoes. They've got a little shelf right there. And we've got a little knockout right there. And the table's got that little leg. I'm not gonna be able to do this on camera. Here we go. So now I see how the little table leg, is that the right orientation? It's the only orientation. The table leg is gonna go right in there. So once you get the table leg set, then you can just push this part K up until it sits flush against the firewall. And you should have the proper orientation. I'll tell you what, for such a big airplane, you got some seriously cramped quarters. I'm always surprised at how small the bomb loads are, which explains why they had to have so many bombers. All right, that's got to sit. That's the front half done. How much time we got left? About 15 minutes. It's amazing how fast that goes. I'm not going to glue the bombs onto the bomb rack, but I can put the racks in place. Paint those separately. Actually, I won't even need the bombs because they would have already dropped their bombs. So maybe someone on eBay will pick a bunch of bombs. So that's further back. That's A. Wrong sprue. Sprue J. Here's number 4. And this is 6. That's a healthy piece of plastic. And then we go back to A for 45s and 44. And there's 44. It's got a lot of cleaning up to do. Here's our 45s. Way over here. So this is going to be a wheels up kit build. Like I said, I don't need the bombs because they had dropped all their bombs. At this point in history. Just cleaning up these little... man, that might be easier to get in there with a knife. Yeah. Of course, it's three-dimensional, so it's not going to sit flush. Oh, I don't get any warpage. All right, we got some cleaning up to do. That was a pretty big sprue attachment point. Yeah, because that sits up. This is, I hate when model companies do that. When you see, I guess they're thinking you're not going to see it top down. You're going to look at it from this orientation if the bomb bay doors are open. And I believe the bomb bay doors did close. All I'm doing is just taking off the excess plastic. So I can get in there. Sanding sponge. I'll let this sit. Get some pictures. Get it in primer. All right, these should go pretty darn quick as bomb racks. I have to do some dry fitting just to see if these molding gates are actually visible. But it looks like this is going to sit like this, like this. Yeah, there's a door. May have to do some surgery and get some of these doors out of the way. Looks like he doesn't want to sit properly against. And then the racks themselves. I'll go which way? Well, you know what? If you get the orientation right, there you go. So there's not a lot of detail on the inside of these racks. They're meant to be seen on the outside. Okay, we should be good. This is all pretty simple. Clip a little bit of sand. It does not have a lot of flash. I haven't had to deal with any flash. My only issues so far have been the attachment points are fairly robust, which is nice. Sometimes, you don't have to worry about parts falling off, but it does mean for a little cleaning up. The plastic is nice. It's crisp. It's hard. It's not like that soft crap you get out of Airbus. If I was sanding this hard on Airbus, I would already be way out of tolerance and out of spec. Now the tough part on this build for me is going to be the damage, which is mostly in the back of the airplane, one of the horizontal stabilizers. And some of the rear and the nose took a lot of damage. All right, so because I'm not putting bomb racks in. Let's start with, I don't think there's a left and a right, although those holes don't look centered. You know what though? That's got a wicked seam line right there. Mold, the two mold halves came together. Which means that there's another one right here. Again, the bomb bay doors, I have to check, but I'm pretty sure they were functional and they closed. I'll double check them. Maybe they were, I'm pretty sure they did their mission, but I'm gonna have to go back to Wikipedia and see. And if I'm wrong, if they didn't get a chance to drop their bombs, well, then I'll come back and build all those little bombs. All right, here we go. So that's orientation is, that doesn't seem, all right, it appears there is a side to side. Let's find out. Yeah, there is a side to side. One side's taller. Goes on there. But it really doesn't want to sit flush. So these little points need to go under the door frame. So since we have that mold line running there and the attachment points here, that means we're also going to have a mold line on top, which is keeping it from sitting flush under the door sill. And since no one's really going to see it, if I take a little too much off, it shouldn't be a problem. All right, so they look like they're the same height, but that's actually a little bit shorter. And so that fits. So I say that, maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, so this piece on the back, you can see how that fits now. There's a slight gap there, but it's sitting flush. So now it's sitting flush against the lower frame. Once that gets a little tacky, we can come back and there we go. We can hit this just a little bit on both sides. Cool. Now, I'm gonna hold on to the frame. Bingo. It's a little finicky. I would like to see something helping this orientation. But I get what the designers were doing or trying to do. You can see it likes to wiggle. And this side does not have a door, which means you're not going to be able to see it. So there we go. Now, got the actual bomb racks themselves. There are two small holes And that's where the bottoms that have these little pins are going to go through. So I am going to just put a little dab of cement at each hole location. And these are identical numbers, so doesn't matter left or right orientation. Oh man. It looks like this does have a lip as well. That's right in there. So I'll paint that, paint that, paint that. I know this is really hard to see on camera, but those are tiny little holes. And then the tops and the bottom, the tops should fit just like that. And that should hold that in place. Nice. That's going to have to cure, and then it may need to be reinforced when I get it around the body. That is going to orient those two little slots just like that. And that's going to be our forward compartment. And with that, I've got to let everything sit and cure. And do a little research on whether I need to do the Bombays. I'll work on building those up. And the ball gunner. I'm pretty sure the ball gunner and the top gunner, those guys were still active. The waist gunners were injured badly because the back half of the plane gets damaged. So I have to see, they won't be putting the windows in. Really need to take a look at, there isn't a whole lot of detail in here. I'm gonna have to cut these out. And I may have to come in with some styrene. Because, no, these are probably Bombay doors. It's really not meant to be opened up, but there's going to be a big gash right in here, and it's going to be missing one of those. And then I'm just probably going to come back and thin out a lot of this material and put some bullet holes in it, or flak holes, I guess, what they really are. But anyhow, that's been an hour. For those of you that stayed in the whole time, thank you. For those who just jumped on and said hello, I appreciate it. And we'll see you next Saturday with some other build. It won't be this. This is going to get a slow build at this point. When I got a diorama base to build up, probably will go play with some orcs or something next week. All right. Thank you, everybody.